Welcome to F Major Added Second Chord. It is Sunday night, and tonight we're going to talk about the new national record. The new national record came out before the Proto-Martyr record, but I wanted to review them both, and I've been busy this past couple of days, so I guess you're getting another record review. Those of you who like record reviews will be happy, and those of you who do not, and I know you exist, sorry guy, you're going to have to sit this one out. Go back and listen to the Economy one again. The National, Sleep Well Beast. Okay, so the National have been releasing records for almost 20 years. They're deep into their second decade at this point. Sleep Well Beast is their seventh record, coming on the slow heels of 2013's Trouble Will Find Me, 2010's High Violet, I think 2008 Boxer, and Alligator from 2005, which is a string of pretty strong records. Those are all fantastic records. Alligator is probably my favorite. Boxer is universally acclaimed. That's not my favorite, but it's pretty good. High Violet came out in 2010, and 2010 was just a bumper crop of fantastic records. It was a record that got me into the National. And then 2013, Trouble Will Find Me. The band themselves have said, I read interviews, they say, there was a clear arc from Alligator through Boxer, through High Violet to Trouble Will Find Me. So the Trouble Will Find Me is the purest distillation of the band's sound to that point. I should stop and explain what that means. The National are a 5-piece, starting out in Ohio, moving to New York, Brooklyn, I believe. There is Matt Berninger, the vocalist. He has a distinctive baritone, and he sort of has this sort of mumble saying about, sadness, about adult worries, about drinking a little too much, about arguing with your wife, about not being good enough for your wife, that kind of stuff. And then you have the Devendorf brothers, Scott and Brian. And Brian Devendorf, that's rhythm section. Scott plays bass, and Brian is one of the best drummers in the business right now. He has a style. He has this very busy style, but like restrained. There's a lot of toms. There's a lot of, sort of rolling cadences, but I wouldn't say drum rolls, like rolling cadences. And then at the same time, you have Bryce and Aaron Dessner, the guitar players. They're twins. They're like classically trained musicians, and they play the guitar very well. They have released several incredibly tasteful and melancholy records, and as time has gone on, they have incorporated more and more, chamber pop elements with trumpets and, trombones and string sections and all that jazz. They have made, for several years now, these stately chamber rock records that sound very good. They sort of started out this sort of in the post-punk revival, sort of doing this alt-country thing, but it sort of streamlined out to, again, this very, I want to say, neutral rock music. It's very adult. It's very grown-up. It's not necessarily tied to a genre so much as a sound, so much as a sensibility, a certain degree of sophistication. And it's very refined, these records. So I read these interviews and they say, we wanted to do something a little different. What does that mean? Okay. They wanted to make something a little messier, something a little rougher around the edges. They wanted to try some weird stuff, throw some things that had never been, on a national record. What this means is that they got out, as all bands do at some point, the synthesizers, the samplers, the drum machines, the bidly boops, and started building songs and textures around them. The result sounds very different, but the result sounds incredibly like a national record. It sounds and feels like a national record. It has the same stateliness. Is it a little messy? Sure. It doesn't have that same grandiose, that reverberating or whatever that they had before. But these are still fairly busy they're busier than they used to be. They're busier, I would use that word, because now there's all these bibbly boops and all these vocal snippet samples firing, and Brian Devendorf is playing along with drum machines that he programs bits into. But it still feels like a national record. Matt Berninger is still singing in his mumbly baritone about not being good enough for your wife and drinking a little too much and being sad and just not knowing what the future holds. And there's still, the drumming, even though it's augmented by these bits and bots, it still has that same cadence, it still has the same authority, it still has all those toms going ba-da-dum at the right times. And there are still, trumpets and stuff. A little more piano, I think, than there had been on previous records. I was going through and, looking up the numbers, but there's a lot of piano. But other than that, it sounds more or less the same and it feels the same. In a good way, okay? The National make records that sound good. So when I say it feels like a National record, that's a compliment. It's a departure in much the same way that Crack Up was a departure. It's the same band, and they're still painting with a similar set of brushes. They're just making something that sounds different. The difference is that the Fleet Foxes record did do a little reinventing of what Fleet Foxes is as a band that writes. The structure of the songs are different. But in the National record, they sound, I don't know. There's a stretch of songs in the middle, from Empire Line through I'll Still Destroy You to Guilty Party, that have all the hallmarks of a classic middle period National slow burning mid-tempo piece. Those assertive drums, some very tasteful, guitar work running around the edges. The song builds, there's piano, and then eventually other instruments come in. It's just other sounds are also coming in. But it's still structured the same. It has the same build, it has the same arc. It has the same, verse, chorus, extended bridge where they introduce new elements, chorus, bridge again, sort of thing. I don't know. But again, I dig that. And I think that 3-song stretch, which is the stretch that got me into the record, because, it takes a while. It's like, do I get this? Do I get this? I listened to those 3 songs, and it's like, okay, I'm home. I can structure the entire record around it. Because, to get to that point, you have to get through the first half. In the first half, the songs are a little shorter. They're a little more out there, I think. You have, Walk It Back, which is 100% based around, the synthesizer. You have Turtleneck, which is the hardest the National have ever rocked out. The most desperate Matt Berninger has ever sounded since Alligator. It's unhinged and fast and loud and sort of just gung-ho in a way that National songs haven't been for years. To, the System Only Dreams and Total Darkness. Can I compliment the guitar work on this record? The National aren't big on guitar solos. So when you say, oh, there's guitar solos on this record, because there are now. Because they're, we want to do something different. We want to make it a little messier. So they make room for guitar solos like the one in The System Only Dreams and Total Darkness. And I sort of forgot how, the Dessner brothers could rip on their guitars. The solo in The System Only Dreams and Total Darkness 100% rips. And but it's not just, ripping. There's some fantastic, guitar figure work in Empire Line and Guilty Party. And a fantastic and the sound design of the guitar in Sleep Well Beast is fantastic. I do dig the piano. I do dig that is an organic sound that they have made consistent in this work amongst all the blips and the boops, but I do like the blips and boops. They are very good at tastefully combining the blips and bloops, so that, combined with the elements that they retain, the guitar work, the drumming, the singing, it sounds still like a National record, just with new things in it. There was a week where I listened to the title track, Sleep Well Beast, every night before I went to bed. Sleep well. It's like a a faux lullaby. You know, that's what I was thinking, and it was very calming. It is a very comfortable record. It is very comfortable and very, well made in the same way that Crack Up is. So I keep forgetting what score I gave Crack Up, but this gets an A. This record, I'm giving it a definitive A, partially because I'm going to always be, fond of the National, but partially because they do something that's really good and they do it reliably and consistently. Yeah, blips and bloops, piano, wine, melancholy, but a mature melancholy, grown-up melancholy, and then a ripping guitar solo in The System Only Dreams in Total Darkness. Hey, signing off. Next week we are not doing an album review. We're doing something different, but who knows what.